Hi dear students, good evening to all. So today we are going to talk about Coulomb's law. So before start Coulomb's law, we already studied about based on the charges. First one, what is charge and properties of charge. Next one, charging by induction. Now we are going to talk about Coulomb's law. ஸோ கூலும்ஸ் லா அப்படின்னா என்ன, ஏன் இதை நம்ம ஃபைண்ட் அவுட் பண்ண போகிறோம் அப்படின்னா, ரெண்டு சார்ஜ் இருக்குது அப்படின்னா ஒரு சார்ஜ் பாசிட்டிவ் இன்னொரு சார்ஜ் நெகட்டிவாக இருக்கலாம், இல்லை ரெண்டு சார்ஜுமே பாசிட்டிவாக இருக்கலாம், இல்லை ரெண்டு சார்ஜுமே நெகட்டிவாக இருக்கலாம். ஸோ வாட் அபவுட் த ஃபோர்ஸ் இன் பிட்வீன் த டூ சார்ஜஸ் அப்படிங்கிறப்போ வி ஆர் கோயிங் டு யூஸ் சம் பேசிக் கான்செப்ட். நம்ம ஆல்ரெடியே தெரியும், லோயர் கிளாஸ்ல எல்லாம் படிச்சிருப்போம். ஸோ மேக்னெட் பற்றி படிச்சிருப்போம். நார்த் போல் அப்படின்னா ரிப்பல் ஆகும், சவுத் போல் அப்படின்னா ரிப்பல் ஆகும், நார்த் அண்ட் சவுத் அப்படின்னா அட்ராக்ட் ஆகும். which means what? Opposite polarity it get attracted, same polarity it get repel. so இதான் நம்மளுடைய பேசிக் கான்செப்ட். சேம் லைக் தட் நம்ம இங்க என்ன பண்ண போறோம் அப்படின்னா ரெண்டு சார்ஜை கன்சிடர் பண்றேன். so one is positive charge, that is first charge is a positive charge, second charge is a negative charge. The two charges are separated with some distance. That distance only I have to consider r. With the help of these three parameters, especially here we are using two parameters. One more parameter we are going to find, that is force. Next one is charge. Next one is r. Based on these three parameters, we are going to calculate what about the force. That force only, that is what? Coulomb's law. Okay, that force we have to say one more word, that is electrostatic force. Why we said electrostatic force? We assume the two charges are stationary, which means a static charge. So that's why. Okay. So now we are going to enter in a derivation part. Okay. So first we find what? Force only. So force is directly proportional to Q1, Q2. Why we said force is directly proportional to Q1 and Q2? So in 11th standard we already studied gravitational force. Why sir we are talking about gravitational force? Why? Because the basic concept from gravitational force only we derived this formula. Why? There also we have to consider the two masses. In between the two masses we have some force. That force only we said what? Gravitational force. F is equal to G into m1 m2 by r squared. We already learned that. Okay. Same only here we are applied. Instead of mass, here we are applied charge. So charge value will be greater. What about the force? Force value also greater. So we know that formula, gravitational force G is equal to m1 m2 divided by r squared. Similar only here we are applied. Instead of mass we are using charge. Why? Here we are going to find in between the two charges what about the force. Okay. So that's why. So here the force is directly proportional to two charges. Charge value is greater, the force also will be greater. Charge value is less, force value also is less. So that's why we write directly proportional. Next one, what about the distance? Here we consider the distance is r only. But why we are considering the distance is square of the distance? So we already learned Kepler's law and centripetal force. These two only we are using. Kepler's law, third law, that is what? T square that is directly proportional to cube of the distance. So that is what? Kepler's law. And centripetal force, what is that centripetal force? We know mv square by r. Here mass is a constant, so that's why directly proportional to v square by r. We have some derivation, then finally we calculate what about the velocity square value. So v square, which is directly proportional to 1 by r. So this value we are going to substitute here. The force is directly proportional to v square value 1 by r. already we have R, so that's why directly proportional to, inversely proportional to square of the distance. Okay, so same here also we are using, that is what, inversely proportional to square of the distance. Why? Because mostly they are asking, sir, here we are using R only, then why they are using R squared? So we already derived in 11th standard. Here some derivation is there. Okay, so with the help of that derivation only we find what about the square of the velocity. Okay, now here we are going to equate these two equations. This is number 1 and this is number 2. So here what about the left hand side? We have force. The right hand side we have numerator Q1 and Q2. The denominator, that is what? Square of the distance. Now we are going to equate this from directly proportional, means we multiplied one proportionality constant, that is what? Here K. K into Q1 Q2 by R squared. Now what about the K value? Why? Because this is a charge value and this is the distance. Now what about the K value? So here K is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Here epsilon naught, that is what? Permittivity constant. Okay, now we know that value, epsilon naught value, and we are going to substitute in this formula. We are getting the constant, that is 9 into 10 power 9. So this value only we are using to solve the problem. Okay, then during that time we know the value Q1 and Q2, the distance, then constant value also you know, means you can easily to calculate the force. Okay, so this is the Coulomb's law of force. So that is what electrostatic force also. Okay, thank you students. If you have any doubt, கீழே comment பண்ணிருங்க. Okay, thank you.